Even animals in Gaza are not being spared by the Israeli army. Gaza's zoo has been completely destroyed, with 90% of the animals either killed by airstrikes or starved to death after Israel's bombing forced zookeepers to flee. When workers tried to reach the zoo, which was home to around 100 species of animals, they were targeted by Israeli forces.
The hyenas are dead, the wolves are dead. There is only one wolf. It's clearly terrified, petrified. It hasn't stopped going to and fro. All the animals around it are dead.
Even before the current war, the zoo was under strain because of Israel's blockade of Gaza. Now, the damage is permanent. The zoo at Rafah in the south of Gaza is not much better. Due to shortages of food and water, many of the animals are going hungry.
Hey guys, it's me, Comrade Lavender, and today I'm back with another deep dive anti-capitalism educational YouTube video. But before we get started, all my YouTube videos related to this topic will be on the screen right now if you would like to check them out after watching this video. So let's get started into the topic at hand.
Palestinian sheep in the West Bank were slammed into the ground by Israeli settlers. They were murdered, and no statement from PETA. Do you have a statement, sir? No statement. Every other part of your advocacy, by definition, PETA, is political. When you are literally throwing paint at people wearing leather jackets, that is political. When you are literally telling people what to consume, how animals need to be treated, that is political. And that is great work. It is very important work. But curious minds would love to know why Palestinian animals have an exemption. We'd love to know. Because when your statements online say that you cannot call out the starvation of animals in Gaza as being perpetrated by Israel, then you are choosing not be political, but you are choosing to be complicit in Israel's genocide and targeting of animals, which violates your mission statement, PETA. PETA, can't you see? Your silence is complicity. Israel starves horses and donkeys. Israel starves horses and donkeys. Israel murders cows and sheep. Israel murders cows and sheep.
PETA Gets Backlash Rightfully. So for being silent on the lack of direct condemnation of Israel's actions regarding people and animals affected by the Gaza genocide being committed by Israel. It's not just people that are affected, it's also the animals as well. PETA's stance on Israel over the years include: PETA has praised Israel for becoming the first country to ban the sale of most fur products in 2021. A historic victory for animals that followed years of campaigning by local activists and PETA Honorary Director Pamela Anderson. Israel has also banned the sale of cosmetics tested on animals and was the first country to ban horse and donkey-drawn carts for work purposes, actions recognized positively by PETA. In 2015, for example, the Israeli Defense Forces branded itself a vegan-friendly army.
بطنها جنين بقالها شهر فقط ابتلد لكن قصفت من الجيش الإسرائيلي في ظهرها قصف وحشي كما ترى وبعدين هيها فتحت أمها من الألم.
As if kindness toward animals offsets a long record of likely war crimes against humans. PETA President Ingrid Newkirk has hailed Israel as a leader in environmental consciousness and veganism, noting a wonderful wealth of fresh produce, suitable for a plant-based diet. However, as we all know, Israel is not environmentally conscious at all because Israel's militarized imperialism in Gaza and the capitalism-caused climate crisis both serve the interests of one perpetrator. Fossil fuel imperialists. Israel's hate crime in Gaza has UNALIVED over 62,000 lives, displaced millions, and turned the small, densely populated strip into a graveyard of human and environmental tragedy. Israel's campaign against Palestinian olive trees, Israeli colonizer authorities have uprooted over 800,000 Palestinian olive trees since 1967. The blockade on Gaza has worsened environmental degradation. Palestinians to rely on recycled rubble to rebuild homes and infrastructure. One of the core Palestinian principles is the ability to remain resilient under the apartheid. Protecting olive groves are acts of survival and defiance against a settler-colonial regime. Climate justice must center on indigenous sovereignty and reparations, not capitalist greenwashing. And recently, Argentine authorities are actively investigating reports that an Israeli tourist was allegedly involved in starting fires in Los Glaciares National Park. So no, Israel is not a leader in saving the environment or the animals. The Israeli military, the IDF terrorist forces, have killed animals in Gaza through direct attacks, destruction of food sources and infrastructure, and confiscation of working animals, leading to the widespread death of livestock and pets through bombing, shooting, starvation, and lack of care. The Israeli military has reportedly bombed livestock pens, chicken and pigeon farms, and even zoos. Animals at zoos were found dead, some with gunshot wounds, after Israeli incursions. In August and December 2025, Israeli authorities culled hundreds of Nile crocodiles at an abandoned farm in the West Bank due to public safety risks, poor animal conditions, and security concerns. The culling drew strong criticism from the farm owner and animal rights organizations, such as Let the Animals Live. Shadha Fragrant Garden Zoo. The director claimed the zoo was a target during an invasion of the Zaytun neighborhood, stating that Israeli troops used animals for target practice and killed most of them with deliberate gunfire and missiles. The facility was reportedly used as an operational headquarters during the invasion. Rafah Zoo. In a 2004 incident, a zoo owner accused soldiers of stealing valuable parrots, while most other animals were either killed in bombings or died of hunger.
Gaza Strip has lost its lions. One lioness was killed in an Israeli air raid during the war between Hamas and Israel in July and August. The remaining 3, traumatized from 50 days of conflict, were sedated and transferred from the El Bisan Zoo to Jordan.
We've operated on several animals. We've removed pieces of shells from them, given various treatments and antibiotics to others. During the bombing, the animals had no water or food for several days.
The zoo was once a favorite leisure spot for Palestinians that live in the Gaza Strip. Built by Hamas in 2008, the animals were all smuggled into Gaza via a network of tunnels from Egypt. But the war wreaked havoc. Cages were damaged and more than 80 animals were killed. Disorientated by the noise of the airstrikes, the lions became aggressive and dangerous. They were finally given special permission to be transferred via Israel to Jordan.
Several hundred Nile crocodiles, kept for decades on a farm in an Israeli settlement in the occupied West Bank, have been killed. They were put down on Sunday by officials from the civil administration, the army's governing body in the Palestinian territory, and the Nature and Parks Authority. It claims this was necessary, citing threats to local residents and the inhumane conditions the animals were kept in. But Israeli newspaper Haaretz is quoting the owner of the farm as saying the action was illegal and done without consulting him. Initially opened as a tourist attraction, the crocodile farm was closed to visitors during the Second Palestinian Intifada, which ended in 2005. In 2012, Israel amended its laws to classify the Nile crocodile as a protected species under international treaties.
The Israeli military's explanation for their presence in the zoo and the harm to animals changed over the day, ranging from accidental damage to releasing animals as a compassionate gesture. Snipers have also been reported to specifically target and kill sheep. Donkeys in Gaza live a life of slavery. We want to rescue them, get the remaining ones out of Gaza, and prevent more from entering the Strip. This was the comically absurd humanitarian justification for an Israeli plan aimed at emptying the Gaza Strip of donkeys, which have become the backbone of daily life in Gaza. The plan seeks to deprive Gazans of their only available means of transportation, thereby increasing their suffering after fuel supplies were completely depleted due to the Israeli terrorist blockade. To implement this plan, the occupation has been working with an Israeli organization called Starting Over, which claims to care for neglected donkeys. According to Israel's public broadcaster Kan, the head of the organization justified the theft of donkeys from Gaza by saying they were being rescued from the conditions they lived in. However, she made no mention of the number of donkeys and animals killed by Israeli bombings and starvation in Gaza, nor the reason they are being targeted. Residents of Gaza rely heavily on donkeys and horses for various aspects of daily life: transportation, water delivery, trade, collecting firewood, farming, and transporting journalists and aid teams around. The IDF are known for being psychopathic colonizers in a video reportedly filmed in January 2024. Israeli soldiers can be heard laughing and cheering as they deliberately target a donkey in Gaza, causing a building to collapse onto the animal. The source suggests the soldiers were targeting the animal for fun and amusement. Israeli settlers were reported to have stolen a donkey belonging to a 10-year-old Palestinian boy in the West Bank, and then stabbed, stoned, and hanged the animal. Critics have questioned why Palestinian animals seemed exempt from PETA's animal rights advocacy. Reports from Euromed Human Rights Monitor and others indicate that nearly all of Gaza's animal wealth has been destroyed. This includes the death of an estimated 97% of cattle, sheep, goats, and poultry, either through direct killing or the conditions created by the war. Zookeepers and volunteers have struggled to find food and veterinary medicine for the surviving animals. PETA recently reprimanded Hamas for reportedly using falcons to carry flammable materials into Israel, stating that animals claim allegiance to no nation, don't choose sides, and can only rely on human beings to show them mercy, and it is unacceptable to use them as weapons of war. The fact that Israeli forces also routinely use animals like attack dogs as weapons of war when conducting home raids against Palestinian civilians, a practice opposed by organizations like the Palestinian Animal League, went completely unremarked upon. PETA's stance has drawn criticism from pro-Palestine activists who accuse the organization of silence or veganwashing regarding the killing of Palestinian animals by Israeli forces and settlers, arguing PETA is inconsistent in its application of animal rights advocacy. PETA has responded by stating they do not take political sides in human conflicts, but aim to help animals on both sides. Being neutral in situations of injustice, oppression, or conflict is widely seen as supporting the oppressor because inaction allows harm to continue. Hypocrisy within advocacy groups can damage the credibility of the entire animal rights cause, making the public distrustful and less likely to support genuine animal welfare efforts.